Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, our preview video for the Canadian Grand Prix. A bit of a later one here, but I wanted to watch the two practice sessions from today before I got into the preview so I could have a better understanding of what was truly going on here this weekend for the Canadian Grand Prix. After watching the two practice sessions, I can truly say I come away with it knowing maybe less than I did going in. We'll get into all of it in a little bit. Like and subscribe, of course. We've got a load of coverage of all things Canadian Grand Prix all across this weekend. In this video, we're going to be going through all the latest news headlines from the week. We're going to pay a visit to Upgrade Corner. We've got a brief special helmet street as well. And then we'll do the free practice roundup. And of course, our two predictions at the end of the video, which I've never got wrong ever in my entire life. So let's get into this then. Firstly, with the news. And there's been quite a bit of news this week, and I have already covered a little bit of it already. So firstly, there was the news of Esteban Ocon leaving Alpine. Now, there is an entire video available on the channel on that, so if you want to check out my full in-depth opinions on that, that's available for you there. But the main headline is, I think this is a very joint decision. Ocon doesn't want to be there next year, and Alpine don't want him there. So I think both guys are quite happy to go their separate ways on this from there. The other big news of the week is that the 2026 regulations have been released, which the news of today is that the teams don't seem to be very happy with them, which is an interesting one. They don't seem very happy at all. I think this might be a story that develops as we go on as to the teams thinking that these regulations aren't going to be too good. I saw a report today that they're expecting these cars, if they go ahead as they're intended to not just be slower than the F1 cars we have at the minute, but actually slower than the F2 cars. And it raises an interesting question in terms of what do you value more as a fan? Cars that go fast or cars that race well? Now, of course, you don't know if these cars will race well, but, an interesting question, and put your answers below in the comments. Would you, as a racing fan, like to see F1 sacrifice top speed in order to have better racing? I think that's an interesting conundrum that they might have on their hands here. We've spoken about both Ocon and the 2026 regulations in their own videos. So if you want to see that more in depth, that's available on the channel. The other big news of the week, which we haven't spoken about yet, is about Sergio Perez, because it's come out this week that he has been given a 2-year extension within Red Bull, which I found is quite surprising news, because going into this year, I think the majority of people thought this is Sergio's last year and he'll be replaced by Ricciardo. Now, Ricciardo has not had a great start to the year, so it seemed like his name was crossed off the list of people who could go to Red Bull. Now, Yuki is having a very good start to the year, but it seems like Red Bull don't really want to touch him, maybe because of that Honda connection and the constant rumours of him going to Aston. Then there was all speculation of Sainz and whoever it might be. Sergio Perez, realistically, was never truly in the conversation to save his own seat, but it has come out that he's done it. And the most surprising thing of all is it's not just a 1-year deal, it's a 2-year deal, which is really quite surprising. I didn't see this coming at all. It asks bigger questions now of what happens to the racing bills for next year, especially considering Liam Lawson, because if rumours are to be believed, he's basically been promised a seat for next year. So is this the end of Daniel Ricciardo, who is Christian Horner's favourite little boy? Are we seeing Yuki move? I think Liam Lawson is in that team next year. It's just who is he alongside is the big question. But just on Perez, I'm happy for him because I like Perez. I'm a big fan of Perez, and I think he does get quite a bit of stick sometimes. And sometimes it is valid, and sometimes it isn't valid. But I would not have given him a 2-year deal, especially as we're in the middle of the European leg. I know we're in Canada at the minute, but it is the European leg of the season where he normally tends to drop off in terms of performance. So, very interesting. Let's see how it plays out. My concern for Red Bull is we are looking at a season right now where it is very much Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren as the top three teams. And no, looking at this weekend, you can't say which one of the three is definitely the strongest. And that could be the way for next year to look as well. And that could be the way for 2026 to look as well. We're going to have next year a McLaren team of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, a Ferrari team of Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, and then a Red Bull team of Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen. And I feel like out of those three teams, Red Bull now have the weakest of the driver lineups, just due to Sergio's. He's not as consistent as those other guys, those other five guys there. So I am quite shocked that they have continued him there. I really thought they'd go for Sainz, but there you go. We will have to wait and see how it plays out for Red Bull and for Sergio Perez. Another bit of interesting news coming into this weekend is we have a first time ever to do with the trophy. Now, F1 has liked to do their first time ever trophies recently. We had the Kiss Me trophy. We've had that a couple times now. Earlier this year, was it in China? We had the first ever wearable trophy. And now we have the first ever trophy designed totally by AI. Now, I haven't seen a picture of this. I don't even know if there is a picture of this yet. But this weekend's trophy has been designed by AI. And not only that, but F1, teaming up with AWS, have released the software they used to make the trophy to the public. So you can make your own trophy now if that's what you're truly into. I haven't used that yet, but that might be a video on the channel at some point soon, designing trophies using AI. Because, I just put AI in the title of something and bam, 200,000 views. And, that's great. So, coming soon, designing trophies using AI. I haven't seen the trophy. Hopefully it looks good, but honestly, I don't really care. Right, that's the news, everyone. News is done. Moving on to Upgrade Corner now, and it's an interesting one where people are bringing little bits here. Because as I said, we are in the European leg, but obviously this is in Canada, which makes it a bit far out of the way of Europe. So maybe the European leg upgrade, speed isn't as much because they have to ship it over to Canada. It's not what we usually are used to in other European races. But we have still got some stuff here. So, Red Bull brought a new rear wing and front corner. Mercedes have brought a new front suspension, but in addition to that, they also have now got the new front wing for Lewis Hamilton. Only George Russell had it in Monaco, now they both have it. Interestingly though, neither of them actually have used the new front wing in either practice session thus far this weekend. So I'm not sure what that is about. We'll have to wait and see. Aston have got a new beam wing. Williams, new front and rear suspension. Racing Bulls have got a new rear wing. And that's it. Ferrari, McLaren, Haas, Alpine and Stake F1 Team Sauber have brought nothing. It's not the most expansive upgrade corner. And no huge ones, any of the teams. Just little bits here and there. Red Bull trying to kind of fight that issue they had in Monaco, especially in terms of curbs and destroying the balance of the car. That's something they need to work on for this weekend. Let's go into Special Helmet Street now. We've got 3 of them for Special Helmet Street, starting with Daniel Ricciardo with this maple syrup inspired helmet for Canada. There you go, that's it. What else have we got? Now, Lance Stroll is... Oh, that's not Lance Stroll. It's Pierre Gasly. Gasly has released this helmet. Apparently, it's about some rapper who's got a new album out. So, congratulations to him. This is Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll, who is the only Canadian driver on the grid. His home Grand Prix this weekend. And his special helmet for his home Grand Prix is paying tribute to Aston sponsors Metro Supply Chain. Now, are they a Canadian brand? I don't know. Have you ever heard of them? Probably not. This is the second weekend in a row now where an Aston driver has had a special helmet totally dedicated to one sponsor. And I don't like it, but there you go. Make that money, because if any team needs money, it's the one owned by Lawrence Stroll. Right, free practice roundup time now. So, as I said, hard to learn anything from practice today because both practice sessions were in the wet, which is quite helpful because it looks like every session will be in the wet. Especially qualifying tomorrow looks to be like it could be in quite heavy rain. I don't think we're going to have a dry session all weekend. FP1 saw a delay that wasn't a delay. They started the timer for FP1, but closed the pit lane so no cars could get out. So that was kind of a delay. In other news, Jack Doohan substitutes for Ocon in FP1, but he didn't actually set a time. The big headline was Zhou hit a wall, and that was about it. People going around on inters, on full wets at the start. Towards the end, they did make the move over to the slicks, but no one really set any proper lap times. Lando Norris topped the session with the Ferraris in P2 and P3. Going into FP2, yet again, more wet. So it seemed like it started quite wet. It got drier, not dry, but drier. Then it got wetter again. And it's really hard to just judge where anyone else is. Because the top three for FP2 was Lance Stroll in third, George Russell in second, and Fernando Alonso in first. Now, reading from that, you'd go, wow, Aston look good this weekend, but I really just don't think they do. It's so hard to read anything from any of these numbers. Also, Max Verstappen had an issue with his electrics, I think it was, like halfway through the session. He did 4 laps in the entire thing. So, big question mark around Verstappen and the Red Bull this weekend. A big question mark around everyone, which makes it more fun as a viewer, because we have no idea which way this is going to go. The Ferraris were playing weird little games where they would slow down a lot into the final chicane, so none of their lap times are really representative. As I said, both Mercedes cars didn't have the new front wing on, so who knows what's going on there. McLaren's looked okay, but then Oscar Piastri finished 16th. So yes, again, normally I'd go into this and dissect each lap and go, oh, well, this guy looked good and that guy looked good, but there is literally nothing to learn from here, which makes it very difficult, but also very fun. That's the practice roundup. The practice roundup is I haven't got a clue what's going on, and that's okay. So, time to go on to predictions now, which I've never got wrong ever in my life. And we always do the same one for Canada, because it's always been right. And that is, no one crashes into the Wall of Champions. They always hype up the Wall of Champions, but I don't think anyone's crashed into the Wall of Champions in the last 5 years. So, no one crashes into the Wall of Champions in the race is prediction number 1. Prediction number 2, I'm going to go... I don't even know. See, again, it's very hard to pick. I'm going to go for a Lando Norris victory. I think it is advantage Ferrari McLaren this weekend. I think Red Bull are off the pace again. And if it is a wet weekend, Lando normally does tend to do quite well in wet weekends. Sochi 2021 is an outlier there. So I think all eyes on Lando Norris this weekend. Let me know what you think. We're back tomorrow for all things qualifying, which should be a very fun one. Then back again on Sunday for the race and on Monday for driver ratings. All that to come. I'll see you then. Have a good one. Goodbye.